And we're back. Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. We'll be getting to Kenny Kim here momentarily. Lunch with Kenny Kim as we look at breaking down the 2021 Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba down in Mexico. But before we get to that, I just want to say a quick thank you for being here, for watching this episode, for subscribing to the Stripe Show podcast. And if you haven't, please leave us a ranking and a comment, as they help tremendously. We just had our biggest month ever in October. Stripe Show podcasts, subscribers, downloads, comments, rankings. We appreciate it. We're on our way. We're having a blast. So on behalf of myself, Froggy, Samantha, thank you for being here. Tell your friends. We've got a great slate coming up here in November, starting right now, here, today, with the free plays of the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba, the one and only Beatin The Bookie.
What's up, guys? It's Beatin The Bookie, back to give some free plays for this week's Worldwide Technology Championships at Mayakoba. The PGA returns to Mexico this week for a stop on its international tour. Now, last time I gave a free full card. We had some success in Las Vegas as we nearly swept the board. We hit Rory McIlroy outright winner, and we won 28 units. That means if you bet $100 per unit, in just 4 days, you made $2,800 for free. All right, we'll try to match that this week, but it will be pretty tough as we set the bar pretty high on Travis's show. Now, all of my bets are between 1 unit, which is a minimum play, to 5 units, which is a maximum play, your biggest bet possible. Now, the units in between 2, 3, and 4, you can figure out that on your own, as it's not too tough. All right, now I will get started with some top 40 bets. You can find all these bets on FanDuel. I used FanDuel for all these odds. So if you want to get the same odds as me, make sure you go check out FanDuel, all right? The first thing we're going to get to is top 40. The first guy I like in the top 40 is Mr. Vegas. Johnny Vegas, plus 160 to finish in the top 40. That is a 2-unit bet. So 2 units at plus 160 will return you 3.2 units. The next free play is Ricky Fowler, plus 100 at 1 unit to finish in the top 40. So 1 unit will win 1 unit. The next one we have is Patrick Reed at minus 150 for 2 units. That means you will risk 3 units to win 2. All right, so you've got to risk 3 to win 2 on Patrick Reed, but all he has to do is finish in the top 40, which he should, as he's starting to turn his game on, starting to turn around from his sickness, get better. And I think Mexico is a great place for Patrick to finish in the top 10. But we're just going to take top 40 at minus 150. The next free plays we have are top 20 bets. Now these, you just need a golfer to finish in the top 20 for the weekend. It's pretty self-explanatory. The first we have is Justin Thomas at plus 120 for 2 units. That means you're betting 2 units to win 2.4. You guys kind of get where I'm going with this 2-win amount, all right? So 2 units to win 2.4. That's Justin Thomas plus 120. The next we have is Tony Finau, one of the hottest golfers to end last season. I think Mexico is a great place where he can pick his game back up and give himself that kick in the ass where he's going to have a great 2021 season. So I think Tony Finau finished in the top 20 at plus 120 for just 1 unit. The next free play is Abe Answer, top 20 finish at plus 125 for 1 unit. So 1 unit wins 1.25. And again, that's Abe Answer plus 125. Finally, our last top 20 play is Aaron Wise at plus 160 for 1 unit. Now, you guys will remember we hit Aaron Wise at plus 550 for top 10 in Vegas. He's slightly better favorite here at only plus 160 for top 20. But I like Aaron Wise to finish in the top 20 at plus 160. He is the runner-up last year here. I think he will get it done. As we talked about before, Aaron's playing some great golf, and I think he continues it this week. Now, the next play we're going to do is just to win the outright tournament. So just 1 tournament winner. I'm only picking 1. I'm going with Justin Thomas here at plus 1,600. Now, he's favored on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he was plus 1,600 behind Abe Answer. So I'm going to go with the value here. I'm taking kind of the tournament chalk, but I like how JT finished last season. I think Mexico is a great place for him, a place that fits his game very well. So I'm taking JT at plus 1,600 for just 1 unit. So 1 unit would return 16 if he won, which is the same odds we had with Rory McIlroy. So maybe that is a good omen. The next play we're going to do is a top nationality bet. That means this player has to be the best player from his country. Now, the first country we're going to do is Scotland. So top Scottish player, we're going to go with Russell Knox at minus 175. All he has to do is beat Martin Laird, which he should. And we are doing that play for 1 unit. So that is Russell Knox to be the top Scottish player at minus 175. The next is another top country. We are taking Sergio Garcia at minus 145 to be the top Spaniard. Sergio is by far the best Spaniard at this tournament, the most experienced, and I think he's going to play well in Mexico. He usually plays well in these early season events. So we're taking Sergio Garcia minus 145 for 1 unit to be the top Spaniard. Now the final nationality play we have is the top Australian player. We're taking Lucas Herbert here at minus 130 for 1 unit. He only has to beat Matt Jones, so I really like our chances here. I almost made it a 2 unit play, but it is a 1 unit play. If you want to play it for 2 units, go ahead. I think this cruises to the finish line. I think it will be an easy victory for Lucas Herbert. Finally, we're going to get to our most popular bets that I have given out on Travis's show, as we've hit, I believe, 4 of these. We're going to do first round leader. Now, for the first round leaders are slightly different than most of my other plays. These plays are less than 1 unit, a half unit, or a quarter of a unit. So whatever your 1 unit is, say it's $100. You're just going to take half of that, $50, and bet it on these half unit plays, or a quarter of that, $25, and bet it on these quarter unit plays. So we'll first start with Tony Finau, round 1 leader, plus 3,500 for a half unit. Tony's a hot starter. I like hot starters. That is a requirement that I require for all of my round 1 leaders. So we're taking Tony Finau plus 3,500 for a half unit. So you'd win 17.5 units if he was the round 1 leader. Next, we're taking Justin Thomas plus 2,200 at a half unit. So you would win 11 units if he won. Now the next 3, the final 3 plays are a quarter of a unit. Taking Matthew Wolff plus 5,000, so 50 to 1 at a quarter unit. You would win 12.5 units if Matthew Wolff was the first round leader. Next, we're taking Sergio Garcia plus 5,000 at a quarter unit. So you would also win 12.5 units if Sergio is the round 1 leader. And the final one is another guy that we supported earlier, and now we're going to support him again. He hit this bet last year for me, and we're going to take Johnny Vegas plus 8,500 to be the round 1 leader at a quarter of a unit. So you would win roughly 21 units if Johnny Vegas is the first round leader. Now, if we hit any one of these first round leaders, we are profitable for this round 1 leader bet. So I'm liking our chances. You know, we do very well on these, and I think we have what it takes to get one of these. Make sure you guys write down all the free plays, all right? I'm not going to go back over them, but we have quite an amount. We have 3 2-unit plays, a bunch of 1-unit plays, and then the outrights. I really like this tournament. The field is pretty deep, and I want to thank Travis for having me on this week. Good luck, guys, and I will see you in a few weeks. Have a great tournament, and see you later.
And joining me now on his lunch break. Got him away from the grind. I know, maybe it's a good day or it's a bad day. You're dealing with employees, you're dealing with whatever, right? It's like, let me step away and we talk about some golf. He's really good at it too. And he joins us here again on the Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. Kenny Kim, how you doing?
Hey, good, Travis. Always happy to be on. It's been a not so great day at work. So talking about golf for 30 minutes of lunch, that's going to improve my day.
Well, let's get out of here because we've got a good field. This is no longer the OHL. This is now the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba. The golf course is El Camaleon Golf Course. And ironically, Kenny, it's designed by Greg Norman. I have a feeling that this might be the last time we see this tournament at this course. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, with all the stuff going on, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
It's a pretty easy course. These guys, they're going to make a lot of birdies here. Par 71, probably looking at just under 7,100 yards. 132 players, probably a full field. Looking at 65, top 65 and ties making the cut. A little bit of trouble off the tee here. You can certainly get into some trouble, but not a lot of rough, fairway rough. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of penalty there. I mean, you certainly want to be hitting it from the fairway. Pretty good size greens. We need a ball striker here, right? Get in there in some proximity. And paspalum greens. You don't see this a lot. It's kind of a warm weather grass, of course, down in Mexico. Paspalum, I get the question, paspalum versus Bermuda. Paspalum, to me, the ball tends to sit up a little bit more. You get those cushier lies. In Bermuda, here in Florida, like you can get in places where the ball gets in the rough and it just sits at the bottom. Paspalum, ball will kind of be a little cushier and kind of sits up. So what kind of player are we looking for here? We need to make some birdies, don't we?
Yeah, birdies. I mean, accurate off the tee. The thing about this course is, like you said, you don't see too many drivers. I mean, on the par 5 course, but I mean, it's basically a less than driver course. But you think that, and last week you figured it was less than driver as well. And you see 3 bombers out there hitting driver. Danny Lee and Bo going out there and going full Bryson out there off the tee in Bermuda. But I mean, accurate off the tee, good approach game. Lots of birdies since the weather's supposed to be nice. I mean, you can get some tough conditions here right along the Caribbean Sea, but it seems like the weather's going to be pretty good for the event. So you're going to see a lot of birdies.
Yeah, it was interesting last week. Taylor Pendrith can bomb it. I've talked about Pendrith a lot on the podcast from Canada, works with Derek Ingram. And I made the comparison. His game's like a little bit like Bryson in that, he's great driver, great putter, iron game. Okay. Planned out pretty good for him. Lucas Herbert, he was on the podcast earlier in the month and decided to go play Bermuda.
Oh, nice.
Guy that can spray it off the tee, a little bit. Usually can be a little bit crooked, but kept it together. So it was kind of an interesting week, last week. Now we roll into this week. And to your point, the guy that you mentioned, you just drawing a blank there, another good driver of the ball, but kind of a bomber. And it kind of worked out to be that kind of little bit of a driver's paradise on a course that maybe you wouldn't think otherwise. Now we come here, less than driver, to the guys just continue to bomb it out there. Got JT in the field. You got Hovland in the field, who is pretty long and accurate. You got Finau in the field. Maybe he just takes a driver out and red asses it all week. Who knows anymore with the driver in hand and how accurate these guys can hit it. So let's get right to it here. Hovland, of course, the defending champion 2020. Brendan Todd won it back in 19. Kuchar back in 18. Always remember here, Kenny, you're going to borrow a caddy. Better leave him a tip. You better leave him a really good tip and payday, because it's going to come back to bite you if you don't.
That stained my views on Kuchar for life. Definitely. I've worked in the service industry prior to this job I have now for over 20 years. I relied on tips to live, to pay my rent. And after that little escapade with Caddygate with Kuchar, I lost all respect for Mr. Matt Kuchar.
Yeah, it's well, anyway, we're not going to get into that. Let's get into the field right now. DraftKings, of course, we like to use their pricing, and we always start at the top end. Kenny and I will go through this. We'll give you some yays and nays on who we're looking at. You got to fill out your own lineups. We like to fill out multiple lineups. We also like to place some win tickets, maybe some top 20s. We'll give you some advice when it comes to that as well. Did I see that you could place a bet in Florida now on the Hard Rock app? How about that?
That's what I heard, but I hear that it's only one book, so you're not really getting the best numbers out there, I would guess. They do the same thing in D.C.
Okay.
In D.C., the government controls all the sports books. So they have one. It's managed by the D.C. Lottery. And let's just say their numbers are a little short compared to other books. So I still have a lot of friends that live in the D.C. area who still drive to Virginia to place their bets. Yeah,
it's a start. It's a start. We're getting there here in Florida. All right. Top end here. JT's in the field. Justin Thomas, 11,200. Victor Hovland, defending champ, 10,900. Remember, JT was here last year, finished T12, as did Abraham Answer at 10.7. Finau 10.6. I'm going to take a good look at Finau this week. Terrell Hatton 10.3. Horschel, number 2, race to the buy, 10,100. And there's Brooks Koepka at 10,000. Fade. All right. Where are you going to go here? Top in. Give me a name or two.
I mean, Answer seems like the obvious choice, just because, the whole thing, his course history has been here good. His game seems to fit this type of course, accurate off the tee, good with the irons, plenty of birdies out there, plenty of DraftKings points. I mean, in the last 50 rounds, in my model, he's first in DraftKings points and first in birdies better gain in the field in the last 50 rounds. But my favorite play when it comes to tournaments this week on DraftKings is going to be Tony Finau.
Yeah,
I think with the three guys up top, I think you're going to see a little bit of deflated ownership with Tony. You might get him 12% or less in large multi-enter GPPs. And when you look at his game and you look at his numbers, I mean, there's nothing really right home about when you look at his last 50 rounds and the stats you're looking for. But when you put it on short courses, basically less than driver courses, his stats tend to improve. A lot more birdies, a lot more DraftKings points comparatively than when you don't put that short course filter on your model. And I think he's third in birdies in the last 50 rounds on shorter courses, and Abe was for shorter courses as well. But I mean, yeah, I just like. You think of Tony as a bomber, maybe puts that stick away a little bit, hits that 3-wood, hits that a little bit some irons off the tee. He can still get it long out there. Good iron play and gets the job done this week.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going in the opener there. Like, just because you see 7,100 yards doesn't mean you default to the plotter, right? Yep, not going to be a bomber's course. These guys, they're probably going to hit their driver a little bit more, even on some of these tighter windows. We're seeing that it just doesn't matter. They got a lot of confidence in it. And Finau's a player that can certainly sting out that long iron out there too and hit it 275, 280, no problem right down the middle. I like it too. I really do. I 10-6. Finau is my favorite play here in the top. He's right now, you can get him around 20-1 to win. JT certainly the favorite at 11-1. You mentioned Answer at 16-1. Hovland, when you look at him last year when he came in and he won this, it was the OHL, of course. You saw some growth in his short game. You saw some growth with his putter. I think he was much more consistent from that standpoint. Well, he can go from ball striking. But you look at him, coming in this year, and gosh, I hate to say it, but I think you're seeing that regression here a little bit back to where he was around the greens, on the green. Certainly not the player he was coming in last year at this point. Great driver, great iron player. Can he do enough with the putter? He did at CJ Cup, where he finished 18th. Didn't hit the ball that well. But outside of that, his putter's been very, very chilly. So I think I'm going to kind of move away from Victor. And Answer is certainly going to be popular. We know that. But Finau, to me, is the guy. I think at 10,600, I like him. I think he's going to make a lot of birdies. He was T8 here last year. Tony Finau, how about it? Get your second win right now in Mayakoba.
Technically, I guess it would be his third win. I know people don't count Puerto Rico.
Right? Excuse me, his third win. I'm sorry, his third win. Yes.
But But yeah, I mean, I think he can do it too. I bet him 20-1. He's my favorite play in that range. So we're on the same boat when it comes to that top level range this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Yes, his third win. That's right. Second win in this calendar year. 9,000s. Scheffler, yes. 9,900. Top 20 back in 2020. Aaron Wise, I really like. I like what I'm seeing with Wise here. Finished second here last year. Patrick Reed, great finish. 64 on Sunday. Last week, he's at 95. Shane Lowry in the field, 93. Matthew Wolff in the field. Good to see, 92. Zalatoris, 91. Gooch, interesting name, 9,000. I'll kick you off here. I'm going to go with Aaron Wise here, and it's going to be for the opposite of what I just said with Hovland. The thing that holds Aaron Wise back historically is the putter. He's a nice driver. I'm not going to use the word great. He's a nice driver of the ball. nice iron game. I think his short game is good. His putter can get really chilly for a long period of time. But I got to tell you, Aaron Wise here in the last 2 to 3 months has slowly started to put some momentum together here with the putter. And he looks much more comfortable. 8th at Shriners, 5th at the CJ Cup. He checks the box for previous, playing well here in the past, course experience. I like Aaron Wise a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the way he's been playing. I mean, you're right. The putter he's been putting better in the last few months. I mean, you see a lot of positive strokes gained for events, maybe even half the events of his last 10, which is a lot more than he usually has. Usually just a consistency of, negative strokes gained putting for Aaron Wise. But he's definitely improved in that. I mean, he's looked really strong in the fall. So I can't fault you for taking Aaron Wise. For me, it's a little too expensive and especially with the names around him.
Okay.
But I think a lot of people might be thinking that way. And so you could get him again at lower ownership again, because I don't know how many people want to click Aaron Wise at $9,600 when you have Scheffler, Koepka, Reed, Lowry right by him. We'll see. I mean, people nowadays that play DraftKings are a lot sharper than they were when I first started. So the ownership could be more than I expect. But he's not going to be one of my favorites this week.
See, I think, Reed certainly is going to get a lot of play, the way that he finished at 95. Scheffler's got the name value. I look at Scheffler and Wise. I mean, Scheffler certainly had a better career, although he hasn't won yet either. And he was very good at the Ryder Cup, and particularly when he beat Jon Rahm. So that's going to stick in people's mind. He's going to be popular. You look at him, though, I mean, like Wise and Scheffler, stroke gain tee to green, I think Aaron Wise is as good, personally. I think they are very, very close tee to green. Now, the putter has held Aaron Wise back historically, and Scheffler's a more consistent putter. I think Wise now figuring that out. I'll put Wise right there with Scheffler. He just doesn't have quite the history yet because of how bad that putter has been. So I'm comfortable with Wise there. You go down to the bottom, 9,000. Anybody interest you there? I mean, Shane Lowry. Can he do is this the kind of course for a Lowry, do you think? I mean, they're not going to get a lot of win here, at least historically. This is, a place that kind of plays pretty straightforward weather-wise. Matthew Wolf's there. Zalatoris is there. Is Gooch ready to take the next step? He's been showing some form.
I like Scheffler. I like Reed, but Gooch might be my favorite play in this range also. His form just as good as Aaron Wise in the fall so far, coming off a 4th, 11th, and a 5th in his last 3 events. His iron game has been incredibly strong, gaining, around 14 strokes with his approaches in the last 12 rounds he's played. Tee to green, he's been great. Around the green, he's been good. Even his putting has been really, really solid during the fall. I mean, everything you could say about Aaron Wise, you could say about Taylor Gooch, and just with a little bit cheaper. With a little bit of savings there. So, and again, I think no one's going to click Gooch. I doubt it. Again, another guy who, when you look at the names around him, it's hard to click it. But with that type of savings, I think that he could be someone that you play instead of Aaron Wise. In this $9K price range.
Can I sell you on Aaron Wise?
Look, everything that he's done, it makes sense. I do not blame anybody for playing Aaron Wise this week. The guy's been playing exceptionally good, but I just rather play Reed or Scheffler in that top range. Personally.
Well, I might be setting up the podcast on Thursday too, and just that his coach Jeff Smith will be coming on the podcast. So I'm kind of like that's part of it. Very small part. The other part is that I do think there's been a tremendous amount of growth there with Aaron Wise, and the stars kind of line up, and I just think that he'll be a decent play with the names around him. I think he'll be, you'll get him at where everybody else is going to be going for some of these other names like a Scheffler and a Reed. And I agree on the bottom end too. Gooch is one that I circled right away. I circled him right away. He's playing some really good golf here. 4th at Fortinet, 11th at Shriners, 5th at CJ Cup. It feels close. It feels close with Gooch. It really does. I mean, his driver's been a little clunky at times, but his iron game, to your point, really good. His short game, Gooch could be a little underrated around the greens too. I mean, he's really crafty in the short game. And, hey, I look at his numbers. Could Gooch just be that one really good putting week away from getting a win? Like, could he just go +5 here 1 week? And if he goes +5 and has that great putting week at Fortnite or CJ Cup, he probably wins. So, that's how close he is, that one great putting week. You agree?
It could be easier on these slower greens.
Yeah.
They're not very hilly. There's not too much slope. There's not too much undulation. I mean, the green's a little bit elevated. They have false fronts, but you're not going to see, tough reads. I mean, it's going to be flat-ish and slow, which usually favors putters who haven't been the best putters in their career.
Aaron Wise.
There you go. Hey, it can work. It can work.
You're not going to bet Aaron. All right. I got it. All right, let's move on here. 8,000. How do you play Cameron Tringale at 25-1 to win? I mean, how is that even possible? How can you make that bet?
No, you can't make the bet. I don't mind $8,900 for DFS, but the bet no, I can't do that. I mean, I got Reed at 35-1.
That's what I mean. How do you pull that trigger? I don't get it. He's 28-1. Excuse me.
Yeah. That's not happening. I got Reed at 35-1 yesterday morning. There's no way I'm doing that. That DFS wise, it could make sense. I mean, his game's pretty decent. It seems like this is his type of course. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. I know my co-host on the Fantasy Golf Degenerate podcast, Todd, he's a fan of him this week, and he's a pretty sharp guy. So sometimes I like to listen to him. But I didn't really think of him too much until Tyler said something.
Yeah, you got to remember he was T2 at Zozo. So I mean, last time we saw him, 8,900. There's Fitzpatrick 88. Sergio in the field. First time we've seen him since CJ Cup, 87. Ricky Fowler, 86. Man, Ricky Fowler's back, T3rd at the CJ Cup. And it was like, Zozo, he was not clean. McNeely, 85. Noren, 84. Interesting name. Bradley, 83. There's that Henley dude, 82. Mito, my boy, 81. And then Bezedenhout at 8,000. Mito, T30 at Bermuda. And then Bezedenhout was T57. What do you got there in the 8,000s?
Yeah, I mean, Henley seems like, the guy when it comes to the numbers with his iron play, tee to green, really strong par fours. He fits a lot of greens. It seems like he's the perfect match for this course. And, sometimes it doesn't pan out. But he looks like the one guy that really sticks out in this 8K range, especially when it comes to shorter courses. I mean, one of the best approach players out there. I think he's first in strokes gained approach he's been there for a while. And it doesn't change when it moves to shorter courses. Tee to green, he's been great. He just can get over that little hump and actually get a W. He seems like the man when it comes to just looking at straight stats this week. So I think I would just go with what I see on my model and go with Henley as my favorite play.
Well, I mean, Henley, he's iron game. He's right there. You think, all right, when you say strokes gained approach, you think of Morikawa, you think of JT. And like Henley's right there with him. I mean, he just doesn't get the credit. So
he doesn't win.
He doesn't win. That's right. Yeah, he doesn't win. Yeah. But from a ball striking standpoint, he'll probably go toe to toe with those guys from an iron perspective. Yep. Gosh, in the 8,000s, I'm struggling a little bit. Do you want to see more from Mito? Is that a name that beautiful swing? We know he's got a lot of skill. Is that a name is that a guy you just want to see more of before maybe you put him in more lineups?
I mean, anyone that's won 3 in a row in a single year at the Korn Ferry, iron play, of course, he's unbelievable. I mean, if you look in the events he's had, he's gained more than 5 strokes with his approaches. I mean, ball striking, he's going to be fine. I think at some point in time, he's going to get that W. The fall is a good point for it.
Yeah.
I don't really know why I don't roster him that often. I think it's because of the popularity that he usually garners.
Mm-hmm.
And especially within our industry, and especially this time of the year, the people who play DraftKings, you're not going to find too many fish out there that play in the fall. All the fish are playing football. I'll tell you that. You know, I mean, like, so it's pretty sharp guys that play DFS in the fall. It's basically degenerates like me that do all the research and do everything, and they see what he does. And for a young guy like that, I like to see something that he would do on the PGA Tour. But the thing is, I had a whole host, Brad Messersmith, on the pod, co-host of mine. He always said you got to get them a week before. I mean, catch golfers early, and so maybe it's time for him. Maybe his ownership will drop a little bit after a couple of 3 outside the top 30 starts. It could be his week. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, he's won 3 times the Korn Ferry Tour. Very impressive swing. Like you said, he can go ball striking wise. He's going to be a fun one to watch. I think into next season as well. Get some reps underneath him here. Gosh, in the 8,000s. What about Fitzpatrick? 8,800. We know he's playing some nice golf right now. Not a long golf course. He's a player that can keep it in front of him. He'll be hitting his driver. He'll be keeping it in front of him off the tee. Is he a guy that can do enough with his iron game? He's interesting at 88 to me. He really is. In the way that he's playing, showing some form.
It could work as a DFS play. The thing about Fitzpatrick, and this is just going to be my bias, I'd rather have him in events where you're not going to score quite as high. I mean, the average, even in windy years, even if you include the windy years, the winner average is about 25 birdies for the event. We've seen as high as 28, 29 birdies win this event in the past. When it comes to that many birdies, I just don't think Fitz in that type of round. Now, if the weather changes, if it is going to be windy, we'll see. I mean, a lot of the course is inland, so you don't really get all that breeze from the sea. But it looks like the weather's just going to be absolutely beautiful this week, and the scoring is going to be extremely low. And whenever there's a really low scoring event, I usually just don't get on board with Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, you look at last 50 rounds birdies. Let's just talk about that for a second. Scheffler leads that with the most birdies. Hovland's second. Aaron Wise is third. Perhaps you've heard that name to this point. In the 8,000s, gosh, I tell you, in the last 50 rounds, you got to go down. Like I'm not in love with the 8,000s.
No, yeah, me neither. Henley's like the main guy. I might play Maverick, but
McNeely's probably in the last 50 rounds made the most birdies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you look at his stats, strokes gained total in the field, last 50 rounds, he's 12th. So recent form, McNeely, to me, I agree with Henley, are probably my 2 plays.
Yeah, we're on the same boat here.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm going. I'm not in love with the 8s. In fact, I'm moving on because I think there's some names here that I like in the 7s. Frankly, frankly, way better as we kick off with Justin Rose at 7,900. Let me say that again. Justin Rose, 7,900. Wow. Too many commercials, Kenny. Too many commercials.
Yeah. And too many commercials, not enough golf, and not enough top finishes. I mean, if you look, he's had one top 10 in his last 6 events, 7 events, something like that. Pretty good at the majors. But outside of that, really poor on non-major events in the past year. The skill level, of course, is there, but he's getting up there a little bit of age.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe the golf isn't as important to him as it once was. He's pretty much straight. When it comes to making a living, he's going to be fine. I can't really judge I don't know him personally, so I'm just taking wild guesses why we see him on every commercial, every commercial break on the Golf Channel. Whenever the tournament is going on. So I don't know. Maybe he has other stuff on his mind, but I can't buy into him quite yet.
Yeah, I can't either. Neiman, 78. My goodness. I mean, the guy that ball striking wise, I would. He's top 20 in this field. Can he do enough with the putter? Seamus Power, I got to tell you, I find myself warming up to Seamus Power a lot. He's been good to me. 7,700. And gosh, I like his game. I got to tell you, I really like Seamus Power's game. I don't know if this is the spot for him, but I feel like Seamus Power is moving in the right direction and is going to be a name we are going to continue to see a lot in the first page of the leaderboard as we roll into next year. Hoffman at 77, Ortiz at 76, Woodland 76. Would you stop me on any of those names?
Yeah, I mean, Neiman makes sense. I know, like, when he plays less than driver courses, his accuracy isn't usually the best off the tee, but he improves a good amount in off the tee. I think somebody, PGA Tout on Twitter, had a stat where it says, in this field, he was like 90th when it comes to driving accuracy with no filter. But then when he goes to short courses, less than driver courses, he jumps up into the top 50. So now like a 40 position raise, with his driving accuracy on shorter courses. I think he's played pretty well here in the past. I think Neiman makes a lot of sense. I like Power too. I can't go wrong with Power. Lots of birdies. Yeah. That kid makes a ton of birdies. It's something that you're going to need this week. And I like Ortiz. I sort of like the home crowd narrative this week because I'm going to be playing Answer this week, even though Finau might be my favorite player. I'm going to be playing a lot of Answer, and I'll be playing a lot of Ortiz. Both of those guys have played here very, very well. You would think that the whole narrative, there's a narrative where it's hard to do in front of your home crowd. I mean, we've seen Decky do it just a couple weeks ago, and I think these guys have performed extremely well on this course in front of their home crowds. They're going to be cheered on tremendously. I think they can use that to their advantage. And I like Ortiz also. Yep. In this upper 7K range.
Yeah, I like Ortiz as well. I'm just looking at some of the odds here. Seamus Power 80-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Ortiz 80-1. The biggest number that I saw that might have been off. Is actually right underneath. It's going to be Lucas Herbert, the winner last week. I mean, it's not like this guy. I know there's a big narrative when it comes to golf with guys get their first PGA Tour win, you sort of fade in the next week. Now, the thing about him is he's won a Euro Tour on a pro level before. The last time he won was just this past year. I think it was the Irish Open. The following week, he finished fourth in Scotland. I think, again, you wouldn't think that his game would fit in this course, but we didn't think that last week either. And if he's just going to ride momentum, 130-1 on DraftKings.
Wow.
That seemed outrageous to me. For a guy who had just won. I clicked that button immediately. I don't know if the numbers dropped. This was yesterday morning when I made this bet, but I got him at 130-1.
Yeah, to your point, Ortiz, he's played 24 rounds here. He's in the top 10 as far as strokes gained total. So and Answer is 12, to your point. We're getting to some names here also that have done really well. Billy Horschel's played this golf course very well also. But there's Emiliano Grillo, at 75. He's a guy that's played well here. Perhaps those slower greens, the point you made earlier, has helped Grillo here in the past. He's 75. Ian Poulter's in the field at 75. We talked about Lucas Herbert, 75. Interesting guy. We had him on the podcast. If you haven't listened to that, you should go listen to it because he's an interesting guy and his goals and the way that he goes about it. He's like, look, I'm just trying to be me, and like I don't need to be this or that or the best player or like top. I'm just kind of. And we talked to him right like when he committed to go play in Bermuda too. So it was interesting timing. So we kind of like to feel like we had something to do with his win.
There you go. The podcast bump. It's always true, right?
Yeah.
It was always
it was a kind of a, I don't know. It was a refreshing interview, because sometimes when you interview players, you get the cliches, you get this, it's kind of, you get some consistency, but with him, it was different. He's 75. Patrick Rogers, who, was Patrick Rogers last week, 74. Vegas, man, 74. I know you run these models, Johnny Vegas, his name just pops up, doesn't it? I mean, there he is. Good ball striker. Harold Varner, 74. C.T. Pond, interesting name, 73. Hadwin, 73. Russell's played good here, 73. Showed some form last week. Certainly can do it on a course like this. Harmon 73. There's Cooch 72. Streelman 72. Pendrith, what a week last week, 72. Anybody? Any of those names?
Yeah.
What do you think? Stop me. Talk to me.
I like Knox a lot.
All right.
He had a really good week last week. I don't know if he's going to have Willie Wilcox back on the bag this week, but it seemed to do well, especially on Sunday, jumping in those tough conditions, shooting I think 4 or 5 under, which is a pretty good round. His course history here is, I think, unblemished, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's played here 8 or 9 times, never missed a cut. You're looking at a guy who can make the cut and hopefully finish inside the top 20. To help your GPP lineups. I do like Russell Knox a lot. Down here, other guys, CT Pan, he burned a lot of people a couple weeks ago. He was sort of a favorite a couple weeks ago. And I think, another par 71 short course, Harbor Town, and this is where Pan won. I think he's going to be a guy you can get sub 8%. Sub 7% that can win you a GPP. He could also miss the cut, but sometimes you have to take risks when you're down here at these lower prices. And I like Joel Dahman down here right at the 7K marker. I think he makes a lot of sense. Again, another guy whose baseline stats improved greatly on shorter courses. He won in, where was it? The Corrales, another seaside course, short course. I could see him as a nice value play at 7,000.
Yeah, I like CT. I think CT's could be. He's got a couple top 20s here in the last 3 years. You mentioned Knox. He was 12th last week, I think. Yeah, he was tied for 12th. And Vegas, we talked about. He was top 20 here last year. Rogers, good week last week. He was top 20 here last year. Kuchar had his win in 19, and then he goes T14 in 2020. Didn't play last year. And now we're getting down here in the 7,100s, and there's Shank, who ran up the leaderboard there a few weeks back. Stenson in the field. Brendan Todd, he likes this place. Won it in 2020, T8 last year. And dare I say, we'll be on the podcast tomorrow to give us the full breakdown and update on how the course is playing.
Nice.
And what's going to be happening there. So join us tomorrow, Froggy, with Brendan Todd live in Mexico. Luke List, 71. He's missed the cut here 4 straight times. Doesn't feel like the Luke List kind of golf course. Matt Jones, 7. Stallings, 7. Adam Long. Come on now. Adam Long has finished 3rd and 2nd.
I think he's averaging the most top 5 most birdies per round at Mayakoba in the last 3 or 4 years. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on. I think he had a decent finish last time out. I don't remember last time he played it, but I think it was a top 25, if I'm not mistaken. I'll be playing him. I'll be playing him along with Dahman down here, right at the 7K range. I like them both. When you look at Stallings, the guy played. What a round on Sunday. That was incredible. Maybe he could bring that motivation and that feel goodness. A lot of times when you play golf, sometimes you just got to feel good about yourself to play well. And around 62, 63, when the average score was 72 for the round, that can go a long ways in your performance the next week or the next round.
Yeah, he tied for 5th at Bermuda. Adam Long was T25 at Zozo.
Yep.
Brendan Steele was T2 at Zozo last time we saw him. So
I think Steele's going to be popular.
Yeah, I think Steele. Norlander was top 20 at Zozo. Another name is, we're getting to the 6s here in a minute. I don't want to jump the gun here, but yeah, gosh, I feel like there's 3 names that, I kind of follow here that I think are going to really, they're going to do something. I'm a big fan of Seamus Power. I think he's coming. I've talked about Pendrith a lot over the last couple months. You could clearly see his upside last week. I feel like Stallings is coming too a little bit. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Stallings play well again this week at 7,000. I tend to really like him. And then we talked about Taylor Gooch. I feel like there's a win coming for Gooch as well. yeah, I think you get down here in the low sevens. Stallings is very appealing to me. I mean, it's tough to overlook Brendan Todd. I know hasn't exactly been the kind of guy that he was when he was winning a couple years ago, but man, he's going back to a course that he clearly loves and feels very confident with. It's interesting on these slower greens, right? I do think it tends to help some guys like Emiliano Grillo, guys that are not great putters. Brendan Todd's a great putter. The dude could probably putt, on any surface because he's that great of a putter. He's looking to get back to where he was. Pat Perez, interesting name. I just have a hard time pulling the trigger with Perez, but I agree with Knox at 73. I think he's going to be a good play. And then as you get back up into those higher sevens, Power and Ortiz are probably my two guys up top there. All right, 6,000s. Go ahead.
There's a lot of plays, in this 6K range. I mean,
yeah, there is.
It could lead to. So I mean, you could do a couple of guys up top, Hovland, Answer, and do sort of stars and scrums. Like we said, we both don't really like the 8K range. It could lead to a lot of those type of lineups this week. Absolutely.
I think that's my philosophy this week. All right, let's give a name or two here in the six. I'll start 6,900. Tom Hoagie. Hoagie's playing good.
Yeah.
T14, T32, T7 last three. Why not? I mean, Tom Hoagie, 6,900. Let's just keep this train going. He finished third here last year. Sign me up, Tom Hoagie.
Yeah, I think he makes sense. I know Tyler liked him a lot. I mean, I like the guy right at the same price. Danny Lee showed me something last week.
Yeah.
The thing about Danny Lee is when you sort of like a head case. You saw what he did at the U.S. Open with the 6-7 putt, then withdrawal. You've seen him withdraw from Monday cues and stuff like that for having poor holes. It sort of seems like he loses his focus very, very easily. And you sort of saw that when he had a lead at the Bermuda on 12, 13, and 14. That 45 minutes, it seemed like he just lost his mind the way he was playing so quickly. And usually when something like that happens to Danny Lee, he's going to lose 5-6 strokes for the rest of the round. What really impressed me last week was he came back. He bounced back from that. Birdied like a bunch of the holes towards the end, got up in place, had a chance even at the end. And that really showed me something about him because it just showed that maybe he's getting that sort of mental aspect a little bit stronger. And so, after what happened last week, I can go back to Danny Lee at $6,900. I think he was 150, 130 to 1. Also, I put a bet down on him. So yeah, I can get down on board. And I like Chris Kirk. If you're going somewhere up top, it seems like that type of game, his type of game would fit this type of course.
Yeah, that's an interesting name, Chris Kirk. I'll go back to these birdies here a second. Who's making the most birdies in the 6K last 50 rounds? Keith Mitchell making the most birdies. Keith Mitchell, excellent in par 5 scoring. Gives himself a decent amount of looks and strokes in off the tee. Last 50 rounds in the field, he's first. How about that? Keith Mitchell.
Yeah, he's strong. Yeah, usually I
Georgia
consider
Bulldog.
more longer courses, He hits the bomb off the tee.
Yeah, that's true. Troy Merritt, looks like this is just 6,000. I'm just going through birdies here. Troy Merritt second, Garrick Higgo's third. Higgo not quite the same player right now as when I was cashing win tickets on him earlier in the year. Trey Molinex, these are just some names coming up here just to give some people some feel. If you're looking for that guy who makes a lot of birdies in the 6,000. Recent form coming in 6,000. Danny Lee. No one's showing better form than him in the 6,000. He was T2 last year. Danny Lee's gotten longer too. Worked with George Gangus, and he's definitely put some length on off that tee ball.
Some of those swings look like a mini Bryson, a mini Asian Bryson.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Pounding the ball out there. I mean, like you saw it. He was swinging out of his shoes, and they were going straight.
Yep. Vincent Whaley last week, T7.
I like
kid.
Whaley.
Yeah,
Makes
big
a lot
kid,
of cuts.
Whaley. Huh?
Makes a
You like
lot
Whaley?
of cuts. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. He
I do
makes
too.
a lot of cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of showcasing him earlier in the year in his game, talking about the emergence of him a little bit. I like Whaley. I want to see a little bit more consistency out of him, just a little more like with all 14 clubs, consistency out of him. But yeah, he does make a lot of cuts. I could certainly play him at 6,700. Graham McDowell, I was on him last week. Proved out to be nice. T12 comes over here. And then recent form in the 6,000, 6,500. Davis Riley was T7, and so was JJ Spawn last week. T7, and so was Peter Malnati. Yeah. I can't play Peter Malnati. Just can't do it.
I mean, I did last year a lot. The funny thing is, known as one of the better putters out there. His iron game's actually been pretty strong, and his putter's been struggling. Usually when it happens, you would expect the putter to come back, and this is when you play him. But for some reason, I can't get on board with him either. But I'm with you on on a couple of the other 6,500 guys. You talked about Spawn and Davis Riley. I like Riley's game. I like he looked pretty good on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got some other names here. Schwartzel's in there in the 6,000s. Adam Svensson. I find myself kind of going back to Adam a lot. Like I'm kind of waiting. I can play him at 63 as well.
I want to see how Ted Scott helps him.
Yep. Yeah.
You get Bubba's old caddy on his bag. Maybe that'll help his game a little bit.
He was T22 last week.
Yeah. Proven winner on the bag.
I like Adam Svensson. I really do. Canadian. Yeah. I think he's going to be, he'll be my other pick there down here at 63. I wanted to click on real quick here in 6,500, Sam Ryder, who finished 7th at Zozo. Nice guy. We had him on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Find myself pulling for Sam Ryder. I'm probably going to pass here this week on Sam Ryder, but those are some names there in the 6,000s. I think Stars and Scrubs, or however you want to look at it, is certainly going to be the way that I'm going to go about this. You go all the way down here to just real quick here, you go down here to who's played well here on this golf course. Bryce Garnett pops up at 65. Annabon Lahiri has played well here at 6,100, and so has John Huh at 61.
Yeah, I like Garnett. I'm going to be a fan of Garnett this week. I'll be rostering a good amount of him. Mm-hmm.
Joel Damon.
Guy tends to. Yep, I like Joel a lot.
Joel's played good here at 7,000. Yeah, those are some guys that have played well here at El Chameleon Golf Course, designed by Greg Norman. What do you think of that as we finish up here, Kenny? What do you think? This Asian tour going to get off the ground? They got all the money in the world. They're talking. Look, it's the Asian tour, right? I mean, Wade Ormsby
names, right?
No,
they're not going to get names, are they? I mean, like, is it gonna grow? I mean, the stuff he said in the interview is just so bad. Like the one I think it was with Daniel Rappaport, right?
Yep.
I mean, just talking about the women in Saudi Arabia, and like, it just seems so off base and out of touch and almost money hungry. I don't want to say that, but I mean, like, that's I don't know. It's not.
Yeah. Well, I had Daniel on before we interviewed him, and we talked on Monday on the pod, and it was interesting. Just kind of some of the angles that, to take with Greg, and he played it pretty close to the vest as expected. But, I just kind of, I mean, everyone knows what's happening here, right? Like, and it's probably more of a personal endeavor with Greg with the tour, and now you get the Saudi money backing it, and they're just going to throw money at it, right, to get the big names to come over. I tweeted Wayne Ormsby, who's the leader on the Asian tour right now, is going to be playing for some serious bank, on the Asian tour, because I just don't see enough of these players going over. And frankly, how much clout does Greg Norman have? Because this is going to come down to Greg and whoever else talking with players and trying to persuade them to come over, right? I mean, and how much money can you throw at them to overcome this moral compass, right? And I just don't think there's going to be enough. There's going to be some, but I don't think there's going to be enough that's going to really make an impact. And, of course, like Jay Monahan, and the commissioner they're going to do something. They're going to put some parameters on, and there's going to be some legal things. But even if he didn't, even if he's like, you know what, go knock yourself out, go play for him. It fizzle out. I just don't think there's going to be enough guys that are going to go do that. And if they did, eventually it would, pewter and they would come back. Strengthen the Asian Tour. That's great. But
yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's going to be too much of a tarnishing people's reputations.
Yeah.
I mean, you already see, like, one of the big things about Bryson was his talk about the Saudi. People still bring that up nowadays. The stuff he said when he was played over there, and it's just the reputation that country has. Whether you agree with it or not, it just puts sort of a stigma on players that go over there and play.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree, Kenny. I appreciate it. You spending time here on the lunch break. You're gonna have a better afternoon, by the way. And tomorrow, we've got Brendan Todd. He's won this thing. He's played very well here the last 2 years. He's on site. He'll be joining us here on the Stripe Show podcast tomorrow. Kenny Kim, you're the best. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks, man. I always love being on, man. Appreciate it.